The Death Star has been destroyed, but back at the Rebel base, the celebration is over. The Alliance has intercepted a coded transmission indicating that the Empire is determined to discover which pilot was responsible for the destruction of the Death Star. New security protocol is in effect. The details of the Death Star mission are now top secret, and no one is to know that Luke fired the decisive shot. But that's hardly the Alliance's only problem. Almost all their finances were lost with the destruction of Alderaan, and they are out of money. Their last hope is to access the secret accounts on Munilist, the former home of the intergalactic banking clan, and the financial heart of the galaxy. So Luke, Leia, Han, Chewbacca, and the droids head for Munilist. The Empire's top assassin will be waiting for them.
Hello, younglings, and welcome to the Padawan Library, the Star Wars Junior Novel Podcast. I'm Levi Peretic, who is not so sniffly today as I was on the last episode. And with me is Tim May, a man who never sniffles.
Oh no, I'm always perfectly healthy. Hello. This week, last week we disappointed everybody by releasing a 2-hour episode where we don't talk about anything they care about. And this week, we're just talking about a Star Wars book. That's it.
Yeah,
so,
the thing you care about, the reason why you're all here.
If you don't care about the subject of this show, which I know we have a few listeners who don't, make sure you go back in the feed and listen to last week's episode. I just listened to it, and I was like, it's entertaining enough, I
can imagine.
There were some takes that I was very proud of myself that I didn't respond to in a more annoyed way, which, when I was listening to it, I was like, wow, some of these takes, they're bad. But, and maybe some of those takes are my own, to be fair. I don't know, but, yeah. So go back and listen to that. Otherwise, if you are in the United States, I hope you all have a good Thanksgiving, or had a good Thanksgiving. This will be coming out on Friday. We're recording it Wednesday. So, but otherwise, we should probably just jump on in. Let's talk.
Hang on. Before we get into this,
okay.
What's your favorite Thanksgiving food?
Oh, a classic conversation piece around this time of year, of course. Listen, I'm a stuffing man. I stuff. Honestly, if it could just be all stuffing, I'd be fine. Just 2 or 3 different types of stuffing, that'd be enough for me.
Wow.
It would set me to sleep for the whole weekend, and it'd be great. I don't. People talk about turkey. It's really the stuffing, because I eat so much stuffing. I just fill up with carbs, and I sleep for 3 days. That's my Thanksgiving weekend usually. So
I'm a stuffing man myself. I was going to say stuffing. Now, my favorite thing to actually do is after Thanksgiving, all the leftovers that I have, I'll take and I'll make like a famous bowl out of. So I'll take the turkey, the gravy, the mashed potatoes, some corn. I'll throw the stuffing in there. I'll throw some cheese on top, some more gravy, and I'll mix it all up, and I'll heat it all up to like a big stew, basically. And that's my favorite thing.
That's great. I mean, dessert-wise, longtime friends of mine, including yourself, I know I'm a huge pumpkin pie fan. That does not translate to any pumpkin pie-related flavored things. I don't like anything else that has the name pumpkin pie, that besmirches the name pumpkin pie by making it a quote-unquote flavor. I don't fuck with that. But I love pumpkin pie. I remember once, probably, I mean, this would have been during the first Obama administration, a long time ago.
Very long ago.
I posted a Facebook status in which I said, pumpkin is truly the king of pies. And I remember a friend of ours, the father of a friend of ours, commented and said, "Scones?" question mark. And I still think about that sometimes and am very confused.
Because you're not even like referring to like other desserts, like you're talking about like pies exclusively. So
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, scones, sure, whatever.
Yeah,
scones are fine. There's a great bit about scones in the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Very funny.
I'll get there eventually. I'm only on
season 10, I believe. Yeah.
All right, I'm on the producer season.
Oh, that's a classic season.
Such a classic.
Schwimmer is hilarious in that season.
Oh my! He just insulted Schwimmer's dad by like trying to leave the voicemail, and then he ends up like getting rear-ended and cussing the guy out on the voicemail. So funny.
Oh God! All right, so let's talk about a Star Wars book, and it's one we were very excited about, and we're very lucky that we put. Normally, if we put this recording off, it would be a terrible episode because we would have read the book a week earlier, and we would have had half remembered thoughts about it, and it would have been a disaster. But thankfully, and for a reason we'll reveal in a moment, we both, or at least I did, I think you did as well.
I bookmarked a bunch.
Okay. We decided to take more classic style. If you listen to the first year of this podcast, we did a lot more work for the show.
We sure did.
And I listened back to an episode from that first year because initially to prepare for the stupid episode we put out last week. Because we argued about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on an episode within the first year of the show. And I went back and listened to it, and this famous argument I remembered, like, took place, it was probably all told maybe 5 minutes of the episode. And, like, most of it, even the stuff before the book review, was, like, about Star Wars. And then we talked for an hour and a half about the book in, like, hyper detail. And and this kind of just shamed me. And I was like, this is the last series we're covering for the show, so I'm gonna go old school and actually take like pretty detailed notes on these books. So
early on, I took like handwritten notes. Yes. I have a whole notebook that is filled front to back with Padawan library notes, and then I switched to my phone, and then I started writing notes in the covers of my books. And now I've transitioned into no notes at all. That's where I'm currently at. But you're right. We should, we need to do this book justice.
I wrote 7 pages in a Word document of notes for this book. So we have it covered this week. And the book this week is the first book in a series called Rebel Force that was published from 2000, really the beginning of 2009. Through, I think, 2010.
I have a question for you about the distribution of this book. On the back of your book, does it say this edition is available for distribution only through School Market?
Oh, yeah. Maybe it must have only been through book orders then.
Yeah, or like the Scholastic Book Fair. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Huh.
So that'd be interesting if that was the only way to get this series was through the book fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's certainly not anymore the only way. I don't, because I think you can get it on, I think I've seen listings for it on Amazon and that kind of thing, but we got them used. I think I got most of mine at a half-price books, like a few years ago.
I found these in the wild, for sure.
Yeah, these are pretty easy to find, and they're certainly, like, compared to a lot of the books, the books we covered in the first year of the show, speaking of the first year, which we found, I think, fairly easily when we were preparing for this show are
Mhm.
now, like, many of them go for, like, a lot, like $20-$30, like, individually.
That's why I bought them early, baby. I knew we
Yeah.
were gonna just
Yeah.
shoot that market sky
Should,
high.
man, like, who knew? Like, it's like a physical version of NFTs, like actual collectibles. Like actual things you can hold and collect,
Speaking of, do you hear the whole Tarantino NFT thing?
Yeah, that, like, Paramount, who owns Pulp Fiction, is, like, suing him for selling, like, a script page or something. Like,
he says he's selling, like, well, early on I read he announced that he is, like, selling unseen footage from Pulp Fiction as NFTs.
I thought it was like a unused screen, like, page of the script or something. I can't remember. Regardless, the footage, I guess that's more of an actual gray area. I feel like the screenplay argument is, like, it's clearly, like, he owns that.
It is.
I think he published that as a book, like, which would, he would own that text. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Who cares? I mean, I like, that's nothing I would ever buy, because guess what? Even if it's unseen footage, like, that shit is gonna get shared on the internet, and who cares who owns the digital file, or, like, it's, I don't know, all this fucking nonsense, like, funny money bullshit. Anyway, all right, so this book series, Rebel Force, is written by somebody named Alex Wheeler, and I looked up this person. This person, Alex Wheeler, is the love interest of the character Iris Wheeler from the soap opera. Oh, fuck. I looked this up last week, and now my stupid joke is failing. Look up Iris Wheeler. What soap opera was she on?
Iris.
The spin-off of this soap opera is called Texas, and this is where Alex Wheeler made his return. A former lover of Iris.
Oh, Another World.
Another World, thank you. Anyway, this is obviously a joke. Alex Wheeler is not a real person. It's another pen name for Jude Watson, which is a pen name in the first place.
Now, I was okay, we had broke this way in the show before,
yes.
But Pablo Hidalgo said on Twitter that Alex Wheeler is Jude Watson.
Sure.
I can't find that tweet, but apparently that was on February 11th, all right?
Yeah.
On February 11th, 2020, on July 24th, 2020, someone tweeted at Jude Watson, Judy Blundell on Twitter, and said, "Hi there, I heard you wrote the Rebel Force series under the pen name Alex Wheeler, but I've never seen it confirmed. Is this true?" And she responded, "Not true. Sorry. Thanks for asking."
Aww.
So, like, even though Pablo has said, she is still denying. Which I find super suspicious. And I found it like from page one.
Strange.
I found it from page one of this book to be
her.
Like it's her, without, because she uses a phrase in the first page of this book that is uniquely her.
And, like, the name Alex Wheeler barely appears on this cover. You have just the last name Wheeler on the spine. The name Alex Wheeler is not on the cover, and it's just on the cover page. So, like, they are not, like, promoting the authorship of this book in any serious way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look up Alex Wheeler on the internet, that is what came up for me, was that the brief boyfriend of a soap opera character from a soap opera that was canceled in the mid-90s. I don't know. That's weird. I can't imagine Hidalgo would lie about that. That's a weird thing for him.
It is a weird thing to lie about.
Although if he deleted the tweet, maybe he wasn't supposed to say it, but it's like, also, like, who cares? Like, why would that be a secret at this point? Like, I don't know.
I don't know either. See, the only thing I can think about is like, so this comes out right around the time that What I Saw and How I Lied came
Yeah, like
out.
about a
So
year
like
after. Yeah.
I could see her trying to like wanting to be like not be associated with Star Wars anymore. So that's
Yeah,
why she
but
did
then
the pseudonym.
Judy Blundell she used, which I believe is her real name, is what she used for that book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not even the same as Jude Watson.
All right. If we ever speak to her, I think our way in is be like, so what are your feelings on the soap opera Another World? You know, like start there.
I mean, I don't know. Now I feel I would be nervous to ask about this now. Like that's a weird.
Me too. Yeah, because
that's
like,
a weird Like that's a weird response. I gotta say. Like, I mean, unless like somehow it's not true. But I don't understand. Like, I think it's very clearly the same person.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe somebody doing a very good imitation. But then, who is Alex Wheeler? Because there's no information about this person on the internet.
Right.
I looked up the name Alex Wheeler so I could make a joke. So if I could find a person who was not, and I made that joke. But like, I could not find any writer listed under that name.
And not only that. So if Alex Wheeler is just like a copycat writer, then like Alex Wheeler is like up there with one of the best like Star Wars writers of books we've read so far, because like this is that level. This is that Jason Fry level. Yeah,
it's fantastic. Whatever. I guess we'll call the author Alex Wheeler. I guess.
Yeah, I guess we will.
I was like prepared to just go like, oh, keep saying Jude over and over again all the way through, but that's fine. All right. Weird.
All right. Let me see if it says
completely
the cover.
Unexpected.
The cover art here. So shout out. Okay, a shout out to a book designed by Rick DeMonico and cover illustrations by Randy Martinez.
Yeah, I like these covers. They're well designed, and I like the little the illustrations on the back are fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this first one is like pretty stock images of the characters.
But I know later in the later books, the illustration on the back become the most interesting illustration on the cover. So
we'll talk all about it.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, again, the first printing was in January 2009. It was a period of excitement for America and a trepidatious moment in our economic history. And here we go. Chapter 1.
Yeah.
You ready? I went deep here.
I actually want to read this first page because there's something on this first page. So, the Emperor closed his eyes and let the rage consume him. An energy bolt of anger crackled across his body, turning his blood black with venom. A red mist clouded the darkness behind his lids. The fog of hate would have shrouded the vision of a lesser man, but when the Emperor opened his eyes, the blood-tinged world was sharper than ever. Clarity, understanding, power. This was what the rage could do for him. This was what pathetic Jedi never understood as they rejected their anger, letting cowardice block their path to the dark side. This was why they had been eliminated and why the Emperor reigned supreme, his powers unquestioned, his iron rule unassailable. Until now, my lord, the Death Star has been destroyed.
Wow.
Incredible. And the thing that I think is like the giveaway is the red mist. Because remember, she would talk about the mist in Jedi Quest. Anytime Anakin would have some sort of bubbling, like anger bubbling up, there was always like a mist in his eyes. So to me, that's it.
Already other things too that, I mean, maybe they just used elements, I guess. That's not impossible. It's just very strange. Anyway, so I also want so basically this thing, it opens, Sheev is remembering that this is shortly after Vader has told him about the destruction of the Death Star. And he chooses not to. He's angry about it, of course, but he chooses not to force collapse the building he's in. He makes a decision not to wait. Wait, I want to read this, but he chose to wait. He chose control. It was another thing the Jedi had never understood, a lesson that even Darth Vader, such a quick study in the school of darkness, had yet to learn. The rage was only a beginning. Control, that was the key. Patience, the ability to channel the flood, bend it to your will. Anger was the fuel that powered the dark side of the Force, but success depended on mastery of the anger. Vader spent his anger without thought. The Emperor hoarded his, as a Hutt hoarded his treasure. The destruction of the Death Star had been a setback, but every defeat masked an opportunity, and this was an opportunity the Emperor fully intended to seize. In fact, he already had a plan. The Emperor activated his comm console, opening a line of communication to the lieutenant who sat quivering just outside the door, waiting on his command. Send them in. So, anyway, in case we didn't point this out, this series takes place after A New Hope. So, and while maybe it wasn't written by Jude, this is a follow-up essentially to Last of the Jedi. And let's just quickly refresh. The ending of Last of the Jedi ended with the Jedi Farah on Alderaan, essentially fulfilling an Obi-Wan-esque role, but with Leia. Is kind of the idea of that. Now, Farah Solon does not appear in this book, but we're pretty sure he's going to show up in this series. Spoiler alert. Or at least some mention of him will be in the series. So that's part of the reason I think it is believed that these books are written by Jude Watson.
It feels it feels undeniable in the text that it is her.
I mean, maybe it's not, but it's also really weird for Pablo Hidalgo to say that it is, because he was working at Lucasfilm at the time, and would know. You know what I mean?
I need to find this tweet, honestly. I'll save it for next week.
Okay, I will say, I remember when the person told us, alerted us to it, it was a screenshot, but Pablo Hidalgo's Twitter account is private. Like, he does, so, maybe it's made up. Maybe it's a made up tweet.
It's not, because it showed up, there's a whole Reddit post about it, and that's how I know that it's February 11th, but nobody posted the screenshot. So maybe...
I remember seeing a screenshot years ago, when whatever. We can't focus on that. That'll be hopefully a mystery we can solve by the time we finish covering the series. But let's continue on the book.
Keep moving.
Basically, Sheev the book opens here with Sheev, as we just read, and he meets with his top officers, including Thrawn and Crix Badine. Kind of a cool cameos here.
I love the Thrawn moment, because he says the Death Star has been destroyed. He informed them carefully, noting their reactions. Captain Thrawn betrayed no emotion, complete control. The Emperor thought with approval, this one will go far.
Yes. He reports the news of the Death Star's destruction to everybody, and he senses a potential smile. Just a potential smile coming from Grev Tehran, this guy, and he has the guards kill him for that potential smile. He's like, even if he's not a traitor, we need to cut this guy out. And then this guy Rezi Suresh asks if there were any survivors, and Sheev then recalls that this guy's family were in prison camps. And they had been transferred to the Death Star. They were in prison camps because this guy had essentially traded his family for mercy, because he had some there was some suspicion about him being part of the rebellion. He wasn't, but because he then gave up his family, basically, and he asked.
He turned his family in.
Turned his family in. That's what it was, and he asked if there were any survivors. And then Sheev gleefully tells him that Vader is the only survivor, and it says he enjoys the disappointment filling the room that Vader survived. And he informs them that Vader is going to return to Coruscant soon, and tells his officers they have to focus on finding the pilot who destroyed the Death Star rather than doing a counterattack on the base on Yavin 4. They want to get the head of that pilot. So that's the first chapter. Then in chapter 2, we move to Yavin 4, and we see, who is it? Oh, a good friend of ours, Luke Skywalker. He's there. He's doing some lightsaber training in the jungles of Yavin 4 with R2-D2, who's like firing little fake lasers at my guy, and with the shield up, the face shield. And he gets annoyed because R2's being a tricky motherfucker. R2's trickery. He doesn't like it. And this is 2 weeks, we find out, after the Battle of Yavin, by the way. And he's been training in the jungle because he's been sick of Han making fun of him. Han's making fun of Luke. And but he eventually is able to contact Luke via comlink. And he knew he was out there because 3PO yacked that Master Luke was out in the jungle, and like Luke's just like, that damn droid. But anyway, Han says that Leia's been looking for him, and I wrote, Luke is very excited by this news.
I will mention real quick, I made it underline, because he's in the jungle in Yavin. It says, all around him the lush green jungle rustled and chirped, alive with the calls of the woolly manders and the whisper birds, gracklebats, and whatever. But the woolly mander reference, classic Yavin.
So,
because Ygritte was a woolly mander, right? Where we?
Not a woolly mander, but maybe he was. I'm not sure.
I know there were woolly manders in Junior Jedi Knights somewhere.
Yes, yeah, I remember that word. I noted, yeah, Luke is very excited by this news. I will say, I've read a lot of stories that take place during this exact period, the post first movie era. Obviously, all the earliest Star Wars expanded universe stuff takes place then, because you have the Marvel comics and Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And then there's the more recent Marvel series. There was even a Dark Horse series, right, kind of before the trade-off that took place during this period. Obviously, the Marvel books and Splinter of the Mind's Eye kind of just take it as a love triangle between Luke, Han, and Leia, because that's sort of what I think people thought of it at the time before they knew what was going on. But it is always interesting with later material set during this period how much they want to lean into that, because it's undeniable that Luke has a crush on Leia in the first movie. Now, it's easy to recontextualize that as kind of a misplaced affection that he doesn't realize kind of why he feels this attachment to her. But this book, I think, does a pretty good job of balancing that, where it's like, I think it's clear that it's like that he's viewing it and like he gets jealous of Han and having her attention, but it also does a good job of kind of massaging that so it's not like, doesn't feel too weird, you know what I mean?
I agree. And Luke is struggling so much in this book of feeling too boyish, right. Like he's destroyed the Death Star, but like he still feels like he's just clumsy, and he does a lot of super clumsy things in this book. We'll get into that. But also too, like Han and Leia spend so much time bickering in this book, they're constantly combative in this. So go ahead. You're the one with the notes.
Oh, that's fine. Luke, Han, and Leia, they meet with General Dodonna in his office, and they've gotten Imperial intelligence that the Empire has no plans to attack Yavin 4, like we learned in the first chapter, and they're after Luke. And I have here, read page 17 through 19, and I'm going to...
All right.
All right. So, let's see. Okay. We'd be happy to help in any way we can, General, Leia said. Han shot her a look. We? He mouthed. The General shook his head. I'm afraid that's not why I've called you here. We learned something else from the transmission. Although they're not moving on Yavin 4, the Empire is determined to retaliate for the blow we struck against the Death Star. They're planning targeted attacks to take out our top leadership, among others. As you can imagine, there's one target the Emperor wants most of all. As Luke waited for General Dodonna to reveal the target, he suddenly realized what everyone in the room was thinking, that everyone in the room was looking at him. What? It's you, kid, Han said. Imperial enemy number 1. I'm afraid so, General Dodonna confirmed. Luke wasn't sure whether he should feel proud or terrified. According to our sources, the Empire doesn't yet have Luke's name. As of today, we're instituting several new security protocols designed to shield the identities of anyone who might be an Imperial target, the General explained. All of your roles in the destruction of the Death Star have been reclassified as top secret. Obviously, your identities are known to most of the rebels on Yavin 4, but everyone involved understands how crucial secrecy is to the rebel cause. What happens if the Empire finds out? Luke asked. Don't you mean when they find out? Han shot back. Leia stood up, smacking her hands against the conference table. Then we face them together, and we defeat them. She almost sounded eager for the chance. Luke and Han exchanged a glance. Leia was a former Imperial senator, a well-known diplomat who, in her official capacity, traveled the galaxy carrying messages of comfort and peace. But sometimes Luke suspected that deep down, she was the most natural-born warrior of them all. I don't know. I don't know why I wrote that we should read that. And I also don't know what I've never worked on impressions of the 3 main characters.
I don't know. You're Luke of what happens if the Empire finds out? That was very funny.
Okay, I don't know.
All right. So moving into chapter 3, or hang on, maybe not.
Han immediately pulls a Han, and he ain't trying to stick around and get killed, you know. And he invites Luke to come with him and Chewie. And Leia calls him a coward. C-3PO worries. The usual. That's what I wrote. The usual.
Well, because Han's like, kid, do you really think they can keep the Empire away from you? Like, they're going to find out who you are.
And, like, Luke's just like, I'm the one who destroyed the Death Star. And he's like, and Han's this, like, lucky shot. Happens to the best of us. And the rest of us. Oh, fuck. Han just going in, ethering Luke right there. Leia tells Luke that she believes in the Alliance's security, but that she also believes in him, which causes Luke to, quote, blush with pleasure. Alright, and then we cut to the guy that was meeting with the Emperor, who asked about his family.
Commander Sorish.
Rezi Soresh, or whatever.
Who I expect will be a long-term villain in this series.
Yes, clearly. He's having a covert comlink meeting with a man with quote, gray hollow eyes. An assassin, apparently, it seems to be an assassin he's hired to hunt down and kill the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. And Suresh is determined to prove his loyalty to Sheev. And then we move into chapter 4, where we really get into this mysterious gray hollow-eyed man. And we're introduced, and we find out that this character is named X7, and he's part of a series of genetically engineered, like, human assassins that were created by this guy, Suresh. X1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. X2, I would imagine you'd think is the best, given the X-Men films. But X7 apparently is the one that works. And it's eventually, it's revealed that he's built by Suresh. This chapter's kind of cool because it opens with, like, this long scene where X7's talking to his creator, and we figure out
Yeah,
that
because what we know about X7 is that X7 may have had a past before he was basically brought into this whatever, before he's basically like brainwashed
right.
essentially, because he has some memory of something but no real idea of his past self. And from what we get of these flashbacks, because it cuts the flashback to present flashback, is that he's basically brainwashed by the Empire to have no personality. They basically scrubbed him of all having personality, emotion, compassion, anything like that, and then they rebuilt him back up so that he can be a master of disguise and that he is like a master manipulator and he can make these
He can be
characters.
turtly enough for the Turtle Club.
Exactly. He's going to be a master of disguise.
Oh God! Okay.
They made them all chant that. But I also feel like this chapter is really great because right from the beginning, even though this character is an assassin and this character does viciously murder people in this book, you get to develop a little bit of compassion for this character right at the beginning of this chapter. You feel a little bad for what happened to this guy. So, even though he's the bad guy, you still you want the other guy, Reshi, Shoresh, he's going to get his comeuppance at the end of this because he's the real bad guy.
Yeah, yeah. So X7 though, Suresh does order him. He wants him to hunt the pilot, which is what the Emperor wants him to do, and find a way to deflect blame to somebody else, so that X7 can remain undercover with the Alliance. That is the long-term plan here. So, moving on to Chapter 5, Leia is in a meeting with Dodonna, and he tells her that much of the Alliance's finances were being kept on Alderaan, which, if you didn't know, that's spoiler alert, it's gone! I don't know. Much of the rest of their finances are on Munilist, which is the home of the former intergalactic banking clan, and is now an Imperial stronghold because the Muns, aka Darth Plagueis' species, are tolerated by the racist empire of the old EU that is no longer racist. There's aliens in the empire now. I don't love that. I like when the empire is as truly evil as possible, and close to real world evil as possible. You know what I mean? But
I agree. I mean, they allow in the new EU they allow marriage too, which is like really baffling. That like they would, like allow love. Like.
So, anyway, they tolerate the Muns because they're, quote, very good with money. Complicated sci-fi alien species where you're like, so the whole species is, quote, good with money? Okay. But, it's what it is. So Dodonna wants Leia to go and retrieve these funds from this planet, and he wants Luke to accompany her, get him off world, And so I have here that page 41.
Okay.
Sorry. Let me just flip open. Okay, so where I have not so long ago, in what seemed like another life, Leia had preferred to be addressed by her other title. Oh, wait, sorry. Dodonna says, "You're the only one I trust for a mission like this, princess." And it says, not so long ago, in what seemed like another life, Leia had preferred to be addressed by her other title, Senator. Proud as she was of her royal birthright, she was even prouder of the hard work and determination that had gained her a seat in the Galactic Senate. Now, however, the titles seemed interchangeable. The Senate had been. Alderaan was gone. And the person she'd been, the peace-loving princess, the silver-tongued senator, that was gone too. Whew, so good. So they want Luke to go with her to get him off planet. And then what did I have here? Oh my god, what the fuck? Sorry. Page 42. through 43. Luke. Yeah. Oh, and you want him off Yavin 4 in case the Empire comes looking for him, Leia thought. But she couldn't disagree, and she would be glad to have Luke with her. It would have felt wrong to leave him behind. Why is that? She asked herself. She barely knew Luke, and yet in the short time they'd been together, he had come to be important to her. More than that, he seemed almost a part of her. And he's not the only one, she thought. Han's infuriating grin flashed across her mind. Leia shook her head, trying to brush away the image. Focus on the rebellion, she reminded herself. Nothing else matters. And nothing else matters. Sorry. I am very tired, just so everyone knows. I won't let you down, General, she assured him. You never do. He rested a hand on her shoulder, favoring her with a smile. Leia stiffened, suddenly reminded of her father. She had lived for the moments he'd smile at her like that, loving and proud. She would never see that smile again.
I had that last bit marked to read too. I mean, that is incredible.
That was a Bail reference, obviously, but when I first read it, I actually initially was just like, well, Dodonna isn't back in Empire. Are they going to kill Dodonna here? Mm. And then I was like, wait a minute, no, she's talking about Bail. But still, I thought, maybe they will kill Dodonna in this series. I don't know. All right, so Luke and Leia, they head to the docking bay and find that Han has volunteered to be their transportation to Munilist. And I wrote, quote, incredible LHL scene, page 45 through 46, starting with I knew it. LHL.
LHL. I knew it, Luke said, sounded overjoyed. You can talk all you want about walking away from the rebellion, but when it comes right down to it, you're on our side.
Hey, slow down, Han protested. I'm just flying you from point A to point B. Trust me. It's not because I'm joining your nutso rebellion.
Luke shook his head. Say what you want, but I know you believe in this fight and you want to help.
Leia looked at Luke in amazement. He sounded so sure, like he could look straight through Han and see the truth of his soul. Leia wondered what it'd be like to be so certain about people, to look at them without doubt or suspicion. Some might call Luke naive, but there was something bold in his willingness to trust his instincts, even when they were wrong. I appreciate the vote of confidence, but you've got me figured all wrong, Han said, sounding almost sorry.
I'm not wrong. There was an unusually steely note in Luke's voice, different from the usual young, questioning tone. I know you, Han. I can see good in you, even if you can't.
Not everyone has a good side, kid. Not everyone's like you. Han glanced at Leia. They were alike in this, she realized. Both of them saw the danger in Luke's willingness to trust, and maybe both of them envied it. The sooner you figure that out, the longer you stay alive. I don't know if you've noticed, but when I do the Han voice, I'm constantly putting I'm jerking my thumb sideways the whole time. I don't know. Like Fonzie, I don't know. Okay. All
right. So chapter 6, this is where we get some more time with X7. And this is when X7, he's concocting his plan. He knows how to get all the information about the rebellion through Leia. So he has a ship called the Prey Bird. And in this time, there's a Rodian who the ship belonged to. He kills the Rodian. But then, so we see this moment, a bit of this moment too, where so he's going to start with Leia, and he's practicing on the person he's going to become, so that she will. He knew what she liked and what she hated, what she respected, whom she respected, and that would be the person he would become.
Oh yeah, just so you know that you skipped over some stuff where he lands on Yavin 4. This is before...
Oh, that's actually... Well, that's next after...
No, that happens before. I have very detailed notes, Levi.
Okay, all right.
It doesn't really matter that much, but he lands on Yavin 4, gets an old clearance code, and he's greeted on the ground by a guard with a blaster, and he uses a cover story to convince the guy that he's this guy named Sri Bonard, who was recruited by the dude whose outdated landing codes he'd used. The guard believes him, goes to confirm it with the Donna, and he orders X7 to stay in the hangar. X7 sidles up to some repairman working on the Falcon, and the dude has loose lips, baby. I don't know. He lures him away to look at a fake mechanical problem and silently murders him, sneaks onto the Falcon, finds out that the destination is Munilist, and fucks around with something else on there. It doesn't specify it. We find that out later. Mm-hmm. He then threatens a soldier to get him takeoff codes, leaves Yavin 4, and expels the guy out of the airlock and heads to Munilist. And then he's talking to a guy on Hollow, and he goes through this bodily transformation, and he cuts himself across the face, and he creates this cover, Tobin Alive, that you were talking about, that's designed to appeal directly to Leia.
Well, I don't want to tell you you're wrong, but the bit I had read was from page 47, and on page 48 is when he lands on Yavin. But anyway, we won't get into that. Okay.
Well, no, he definitely... Okay. He's planning on targeting Leia first, is my first note from Chapter 6. That is all he talks about in terms of his cover.
I jumped ahead. I jumped ahead.
That happens after.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. All right.
That's fine. I just didn't want to miss that scene because he sneaks into the I didn't want to miss his infiltration. Like that part's cool. I just didn't want to skip over that. That's all. I don't care what order we tell the people, but the people need to know. That's my point. The people must know. Okay. Anyway.
All right. So then X7, he contacts an Imperial pilot, and he says, "Hey, I need you to meet me outside of what planet they're going to?
Munilist.
The Munilist system, and I need you to the Millennium Falcon will be there, and I need you to take it down." And the pilot's like, I don't know about this. And then X7's like, "Name your price. My employer has rather deep pockets." So the TIE fighter agrees. Then we get to Millenist, and the Falcon shows up. They get attacked by a TIE fighter. And then X7 in his ship, the Prey Bird, shows up and blasts the TIE fighter to hell. He kills the guy.
Well, yeah, because he had disabled the Falcon, all the Falcon's weapons system, so they weren't able to defend themselves from the TIE fighter. So this guy, he comes in, looks like the hero, but he also gets shot down, quote unquote, onto a nearby moon, and obviously Leia insists on retrieving the pilot. Who saved them, who they don't know as X7. That I could call him that bastard X7. And they land and they tool around for an hour before finding a trail on the moon stained with blood. All right. So in Chapter 8, X7, he lays in wait on this moon. And he plans to use a pheromone dart to seduce Leia. That's initially, apparently, his plan. Very Shizor style. That doesn't really come into play, ultimately, but, he's, preparing a pheromone dart. Anyway, our heroes, they run into a beastie, which is a reek, and they battle it for a bit. And blaster fire seems useless. Luke tries out his lightsaber very clumsily. He gets knocked the fuck out. But in the process of getting knocked the fuck out, he slices the dude down the middle. So it's good luck for Luke. The Force maybe even. The Force. And they continue to follow this bloody trail all the way to a cave where they find the pilot, a.k.a. X7, who tells them this is where the Reek lives, and another Reek shows up. Luke pulls out his lightsaber again. Han interjects, shoots his blaster. The bolt ricochets all over the place, and some rocks fall on the Reek. I call him Reek the Creech, because remember Creech from Monster Trucks from a few weeks ago. You've met, yeah. Anyway,
you're obsessed with Monster Trucks.
I'm obsessed. And Han starts to boast that like, oh, like, see, like, even though I didn't shoot him, like, he died because of me. But then more rocks cave in and they're trapped in the cave. So fucked up. Han fucked up. And so chapter 9, the pilot faints. You know, we don't know if X7's like just kind of faking all this, but like, he's losing.
Well, one of the things X7 says, he cuts himself in the chest, and then he says, "Oh, I probably cut myself too deep," and like he is actually like bleeding profusely.
So yeah, he's like mostly fainted. Leia questions Han's strategy. Of course, he gets defensive. Classic stuff. Classic stuff. Luke is off in the corner doing something mysterious, and when the pilot comes to, he's lost a lot of blood. And in this moment, Luke begins cutting through the rocks to create an opening with his lightsaber, and Han is incredulous, just like, that shit's not gonna work, that shit's not gonna work, that fancy weapon, these mystical ass weapons. I know it can cut through stuff, but for some reason I'm like, no, just because it's a lightsaber, it's not gonna work. I am like the ultimate skeptic. I'm like Scully. I'm like Scully looking directly in an alien's face and being like, no. So the dude looks like he might die. So so Han jumps in and tries to help Luke speed up the process. And in chapter 10. Just let me go hard here for a second because I have something great coming up. Everyone is back in the Falcon. They kind of just cut past the rest of this. They got out. The dude is recovering. Leia's sitting with him, and when he wakes up, he reveals himself to be Tobin Elad. And I say he's a liar here. And but his cover story is that he's a refugee from Milano 3, whose wife and child died in an Empire raid. And Leia warms to him because of this. She can relate, obviously, but still doesn't fully trust him and doesn't tell him about Alderaan. And so she leaves the room. X7's waiting alone, and he thinks he has Leia eating out of the palm of his hand and sees the weakness in Han and Luke. He hears them bickering, and he's just like, these weak motherfuckers. They are all in orbit now above Munilist, which will be helpful for any of them if they have to declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Wow. This is what we lost in our note-taking.
That's for the true heads that have like stuck it out through our whole show. That's a classic running bit from back in the day.
That is a deep joke. I can't believe we lost that joke over time.
Yeah, well, it's because we didn't take chapter by chapter notes. So it's
I know we both slacked off.
All right, so but that actually worked out because they arrived at Munilist, which is like the banking clan's homeworld. So it's like perfect. All right, so Luke, Han, and Leia they argue about what to do about Elad. And Leia asks Luke to give her some Jedi feelings about the man. That's all right. And Luke wants to trust him anyway because he's a trusting person. He doesn't actually have any Jedi feelings about him. But he says he's trusting his gut and says the Force thinks dude is cool, is what I wrote.
Well, we do have a bit too where Tobin Elad,
they call him Elad for the most part.
Elad. Tobin, of course, the classic first name of Tobin Bell, actor who played Jigsaw in the Saw movies. So anyway, Leia is there when he wakes up. And he tells Leia that, I had a wife and a child, and of course they were killed by the Empire, and I had this big plan. I was chasing after that TIE fighter that attacked you guys. I was going to try to chase him to the moon, get him out, take the TIE fighter, and then go in guns blazing into like an Imperial hangar and just try to kill as many people as I can. And so there's a bit here I want to read with Leia. This is page 88. So saving us ruined your plan. Revenge can wait a little longer, Elad said. To be honest, it's the only thing left keeping me going. When you've lost so much as I have, he shook his head. You wouldn't understand. I hope you'll never have to. Leia rested a hand lightly on his. I understand. She only needed to say the word, and he would see. Alderaan. It filled her mind every day, every minute, their faces, their voices, the lush green parks filled with children on a summer's day, the sweet scent of father's embrace, gone. They lived inside of her, but she was trapped with them. The pain was too fresh, too raw, too hard, and yet suddenly it seemed so easy to let it all out. Sometimes I fear the fight is what keeps me going, she told him. I draw breath, I eat, I move forward, only because I know the fight must continue. Maybe that's why I fight so hard. I didn't have that. Leia stopped. She had never admitted that to anyone before, maybe not even herself. And this stranger? What was she doing? If you didn't have that, you'd fear there'd be nothing left. It didn't sound like a question. Oh, you'd fear there'd be nothing left? It didn't sound like a question. So she has this moment with Elad. They connect, and then suddenly from the rest of this book, she feels a little uncomfortable with him because, like, she did spill her guts to this guy. They do have sort of a similar story going on. So, but this is her working to Elad's advantage.
Yes. So that was back.
So anyway, now, chapter 10.
Well, we're now on to chapter. Yeah, it was back in chapter 10.
11.
And in chapter 11, I hope that most of the people heard that because he started to break up there.
Oh no!
Yeah,
we'll go read page
88 of
88.
this
People,
book.
get your copy at the Scholastic Book Fair.
All right. Anyway, so so like I said, Leia asks Luke to give some Jedi feelings, and he's not giving real Jedi feelings. He's just a very trusting man, and he's like, we need to trust this guy, and he's also battling with Han, who's just like, why should we trust this guy? So he just says, yeah, the Force is cool with this guy. So Luke goes off alone, and he's getting really insecure about the whole Force thing, and he tries to talk to Obi-Wan, because obviously he's had brief connections with Obi-Wan after his death, and he's unsuccessful. And Elad shows up there near him, and they seem to have a nice heart-to-heart, where Elad tells him to stop worrying about Ben and focus on the future. And Luke almost gives away his secret here. He almost tells him that he destroyed the Death Star, that it's like, well, I did one great thing once. And he's like, oh, what was it? And he's just like, oh, I don't want to brag, basically. So, like, but Luke, like, Elad's starting to worm his way into Luke's heart, too, because he's like, because he's helping Luke out. He's actually like, the whole thing is like, oh, that X7 is, like, really, like, capable of, like, really reading human emotion very well and reflecting it. Is like a thing he's very focused on. And so yeah, chapter 12, they land on Munilis, the landing codes work, and they're in a fancy ass city, and the location of the rebellion's accounts are apparently on the 23rd floor of this fancy ass building. Everything in this room is gold. Mark Lumen loves gold. Mock Lumen, sorry, Lunim, I apologize. Mock Lunim loves gold. So, I apologize.
You love it. The taste of it. The smell of it.
So, Mock Lunim is Mun, who was apparently handling the Alliance's accounts. They're greeted by his servant, who informs them that Mock is dead. And then, they are confronted by 6 stormtroopers. Uh-oh, what's going to happen? Chapter 13. Han and Elad, they lead the way, fighting the stormtroopers, and this is starting to begin to earn Elad some trust with Han. So, like, Elad is, like, worming his way in with Leia, with Luke, and with Han in 3 different ways, Because
with the Han moment, it's like Han would have gotten shot or something, and Elad
he saves his life, basically. So R2, meanwhile, is hacking his way out of the chamber. They escape. Chapter 14. They leave the building, make their way into a bad part of the town, a sketchy-ass part of town, not so fancy anymore, not such a fancy city anymore, baby. And so Leia wants to find out more info about Mac, this guy's death. And Han's like, we need to lay low. Elad suggests, why don't we do both by questioning people around this scummy ass cantina I see. Oh fuck. And so I just want to. There's a very brief moment when they enter this cantina that I wanted to mention.
All right.
On page 114, or no, I'm sorry, 115. The bottom. All right. The inside of the cantina was even dingier than the outside. It took several minutes for their eyes to adjust to the darkness. Leia almost would have preferred it if they hadn't. Then she wouldn't have had to watch the Gungan on the next stool brushing his companion's hair with a long pink tongue. Oh, horny-ass Gungans? Are you kidding me? We have hit the jackpot, baby! This is what it's all about! This is what this podcast is all about! Horny Gungans! We've been leading the way, we've been sitting around here for damn near 3 years, and we finally got them! Horny Gungans! Yes! Yes!
It's a first. We're breaking new ground.
All right. So they talk to the bartender. Not a horny Gungan. Those Gungans are just like making out at the bar. Just incredible stuff. The bartender reveals that this mock guy owed a lot of people money, including somebody named Nal Keenum. And the gang asks around about this Nal Keenum guy, but nobody wants to tell them about this mystery man until a Doug, that's right, a Doug. This is just so many episode 1 creatures, and we're getting towards something very exciting. People get excited. A Doug named Grunta. The Doug is named Grunta. He informs them that this Keenum guy runs a high-stakes game, not specified, a Sabic maybe, and Han wants to get in the game, but they have no money. But Grunta doesn't ask any questions, so they kind of just bluff their way towards chapter 15. And they're following the Doug, and Luke and Elad strike up a conversation. And I have here, read page 123 through 125. So let me pull that up.
All right.
And starting with So Luke. Where is it? Okay. Why don't you read Elad?
All right, I can do that. So, Luke, how'd you end up with this motley crew in the first place? Elad asked.
It seemed an odd
question. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It seemed an odd question to ask out of the blue. Why?
Just wondering, Elad asked. You said you were from Tatooine, right? That's some kind of backwater. No offense.
Luke shook his head. Trust me, I know. It's the definition of nowhere.
And you're so young. Yet Leia put so much faith in you.
She does? Luke asked, hoping he didn't sound as eager as he felt. He was surprised by Elad's words. Often he wondered if Leia had any faith in him at all. After all, it had been a long time since he'd done anything to deserve it. It's been 2 weeks, guys. 2 weeks since they blew up the Death Star. Luke, you're okay. Don't worry about it, Luke.
Sure, you can tell by the way she looks at you for advice. The way she listens. She trusts you. You've known her for a long time?
Not really, Luke said. I only joined the rebellion recently and destroyed the Death Star 2 weeks ago. Sorry. That's not in the text.
That's not in the text. But before the destruction of the Death Star, right? Elad asked.
Luke stiffened. You heard about that?
Elad spit out a laugh. The whole galaxy heard about that. Such a blow for freedom, man. He shook his head. I'll tell you, if I could meet the being who flew that ship, He turned to Luke. Well, you must have met him, right? Tell me, what was it like coming face to face with the hero of the rebellion?
The hero of the rebellion? He's comparing me to Wedge Antilles? Sorry. Luke wanted he didn't say that. The hero of the rebellion? Luke wanted nothing more than to admit the truth. Imagine a man like Elad admiring him. But that would be against protocol. Never met him, Luke lied. The alliance is pretty big.
Of course, I'm sure the only people at the princess's level can keep track of everyone.
Uh-huh, Luke said absently, barely listening. He stopped walking. A strange feeling had swept over him. The Force, he realized suddenly. It was warning him of something. Something evil. Elad? It seemed impossible, but something was definitely wrong. Elad was asking something, but Luke could barely make out the words. The air around him had become a dense, viscous fluid, making it difficult to breathe, impossible to speak or move. Everything was now darkness. And then, without warning, the feeling of doom vanished. Light returned to the world. That scene is a key scene between Han and Luke and Elad, and basically, the Doug, they immediately get the Doug is joined by a gain of more Dougs, and they immediately get attacked. So this immediately throws Luke off in terms, his spidey sense wasn't tingling because of Elad, it was tingling because of all these Dougs who then attack, and Luke feels dumb for suspecting him, and they all fight, and after seeming to defeat them, Han gets hit by a poison dart, then Leia, then Elad, then Chewie, but Luke manages to avoid getting hit with this poison dart. Is it because he's, his Force abilities? Maybe, but then he's confronted with a stormtrooper who electroshocks him into submission. So it's done. And they basically they kill Grunta, by the way, in this.
Yeah, Grunta gets smashed by a speeder by accident.
Yeah. So, chapter 16. Luke wakes up and he's hanging from wrist binders in a dark room with all of his comrades, including Elad, also hanging in a similar fashion. A stormtrooper comes in. What?
There's a bit here there's a joke, a Han joke that made me laugh, all right?
Sure.
This is Luke. Well, take it easy, kid. Han's voice floated out of the darkness. Your eyes will adjust soon. Chewbacca yowled from a few feet away. Luke thought he could make out the hulking shadow that might have been the Wookiee. Of course he's all right, Han said. I wasn't worried. Chewie growled something back. Only because it took him long to wake up, Han said defensively. It's not my fault he has a weak constitution.
That's a classic Han moment. Stormtrooper comes in, he offers Han a drink, and Han spits it in the dude's face, gets shocked by the Stormtrooper again, and Luke tries to mind trick the Stormtrooper. I wrote page 133 here, I guess. This is interesting in some way.
Must be where it happens.
Yeah. Okay, here it is, yeah. Luke closed his eyes, trying to call on the Force. I need you now, Ben, he thought, remembering the day that Ben had first revealed himself as a Jedi Master. He'd used the Force to manipulate the minds of his enemies. The Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded, Ben had said. You don't want to hold us prisoner anymore, Luke stared intensely at the guard. You want to let us go. There was a long pause. No, I don't, the stormtrooper said. The door shut behind them, and darkness closed in again. Luke, you're not advanced enough, my guy. So they hang up there for a long time, and then a Mun shows up, who turns out to be this Keenum guy that we've been hearing about, and he reveals that he had this mock guy killed, and Leia realizes this means that this guy had absorbed the Alliance, all of Mock's accounts, which includes the Alliance's money. So she asks for it back. He's amenable to the idea because he's a Mun and he deals fairly in financial matters, Mm-hmm. So, but he found out that Grunta died and he blames them for his death. So he's going to need something from them in return. And this is the moment that I already was loving this book, but then it shot to the top And he reveals that this Grunta, this Doug, was a pod racer. Oh fuck! Oh fuck! What? What are we talking about? And then, and he was expected to win a big race in a couple of days. Oh shit! What's about to happen here? Oh no! So one of our heroes will have to enter the pod race and win. Oh,
but a human can't do it.
If they do, they'll get the money. If they don't, what's going to happen? And who volunteers? Luke volunteers, God damn it! And he's never raced before, but he's actually seen some pod races. So he's the best choice out of these humans, you know. And so we move into chapter 17, where Luke is trying to actually get into a pod racer to do a test drive, and he's like barely fits. So
it's like, for a Doug. It's a pod racer made for a Doug.
Yeah, and like most pod racers aren't built for humans. Like even Anakin's pod racer is built for like a child. Like an adult probably couldn't fit in that pod racer. So it's like, okay. Well, how excited were you when you realized this book was going to be about pod racing?
I got very excited. Very
quickly. I screamed out loud. I was so happy.
I got the one thing that I did was like, oh wait, Grunta, is this related to Sebulba? Because I remembered in Jedi Quest, Sebulba had like a son who is like driving Anakin's pod racer. No relation, unfortunately. We get no.
Maybe that's evidence that this isn't Jude. Then I don't know.
Maybe. But what I love about this scene is so it's like Luke, he's like, hang on. There's a scene with Han here. Oh, crap. Where is it? Okay. All right. I don't know if this must be after the crash. So basically.
Oh, let's talk about it. Because, he's trying to get into a pod racer and do a test drive. All the cockpits are too small. Luke presses on and goes, and Leia is worried. Han and Alad suggest thinking about alternative plans, but I say Leia goes all new ABBA single and says, "I still have faith in Luke." Anyway,
brand new ABBA.
I've been jamming to the new record. It's pretty good, solid, impressive reunion record in my opinion. And this faith may be misplaced because the racer explodes. Luke gets out with a parachute, but a piece of debris hits the chute and sets it on fire. And then in chapter 18, Luke claims the explosion was due to a faulty current filter and is determined to go on. Han is worried. And then I have read page 148 through 151.
Okay, well, I actually have a bit on 149. You said 148. That's before, yeah.
Through 151, so that'll include
that's
your
to
bit.
The end. Yeah, it would be. I know the scene what you're talking. This is like a great scene.
Right.
I do want to point out that it is so funny to me that like Luke, he's like, I can do this, guys, and then he crashes the pod immediately. Like I thought maybe that was going to be the end of this, but Luke is bound and determined to do this. So he gets.
Well, it sounds like he was right that it was a mechanical failure, and that where do I start? It doesn't tell me. I don't tell myself where to start. Let's see.
I would say, what you thinking?
Yeah. Why don't you start there?
What you thinking? Han asked as they sat in front of their tent watching the sun sink towards the horizon. A few of the pod racers swooped back and forth in the distance, getting in one more run before race day.
I would have had it, Luke said. I was getting control. If the engine hadn't flamed out, I would have had it.
I know, kid.
Luke looked at him in surprise. You do?
Han shrugged. Sure. Don't forget I saw you take on the Death Star. I know what you can do.
Maybe, Luke said. He'd been doing his best to act confident, but it was just that, an act. He had to convince the others he could fly the pod racer. It was the only way they'd go along with the plan. But Luke had seen a pod race. He knew how fast the racers traveled, how challenging even a familiar course could be, how even in the best of circumstances things could go wrong. And when things went wrong in a pod race, they went very, very wrong.
You don't have to do this, Han said, as if he could hear Luke's thoughts. I wouldn't.
I have to, Luke said. It's the only way. And I know I can win. At least, if the Force is with me.
Just how big of an if are we talking here, Han asked.
Luke drew his lightsaber. Instead of activating the beam, he just cradled the hilt in his hands. He found the heft of the cool metal comforting, a reminder of the person he was supposed to be. I can't control it, Luke admitted. The harder I try, the more impossible it seems.
You know, I don't think much of this Force of yours, Han began.
Luke sighed. He wasn't in the mood. Can we just...
Slow down, kid, Han said. Let me finish. He frowned at the lightsaber. I think most of it's a bunch of mumbo-jumbo, and if you ask me, that Ben of yours was just a few sabacc cards short of a deck. But... He held up a hand to stop Luke from interrupting him again. He was a tough old guy, and he had, I don't know, call it the Force, call it whatever you want. I saw him take on Vader, and that was something.
Something, maybe, but not enough. Luke closed his eyes for a moment, trying to block out the image of Vader's red beam striking that final, fatal blow.
He knew what he was doing, Han said. He could have run away, saved himself, sure. But he wasn't trying to save himself. He was trying to save you, and he got you off that ship.
Luke shook his head. But that's just it. He sacrificed himself for me, so I could become a Jedi Knight. But I can't. Not without him. I can't use the Force. Not when I need it. I let him down.
So quit.
Luke scowled. I can't do that. I'm not... He stopped himself.
Me? Han smiled wryly. Thanks for the compliment.
I wasn't going to say that.
Right. Han got serious. I don't mean you should quit the fight. I mean you should quit trying so hard. Look, I may not know about this Jedi stuff, but I know ships, and I know flying, and I know... And what I know is that you've got to trust your ship. Let her tell you what she needs. The best pilots become part of their ships, and that's not something you need to try to do. You just do it. You gotta relax. Let it happen.
Let go of your conscious self, Ben had urged him. Act on instinct. Maybe Han knew more about the Jedi way than he thought.
Han stood up, giving Luke a light slap on the back. And when I say best pilots, kid, I'm talking about you. Oh, and one more thing.
What? Luke asked.
Han grinned. Next time, try not to fall out.
Oh, stunning Han-Luke scene.
Stunning Han-Luke scene. Han written so masterfully.
You there?
You hear me?
All right, continue.
Okay. So moving on, we have Han starts drinking.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah, and so he ends up meeting a flog. Comes up and starts talking to him. The flog is real impressed because he hears about Grunta, and he asked, "Hey, were you guys the one who killed Grunta?" And Han's like, "The rumor's right," and he gets real worried that he should admit that.
The whole room cheers.
Yeah, the whole room cheers. The Grunta's dead. They all hated Grunta. And then this guy, he's just like, he starts to make fun of the human entering the race.
This guy, by the way, is named Hari Ikrim Beard with 3 B's. It's a funny name.
It is a funny name. And so this ends up becoming like a big barroom like brawl, basically. Like everybody starts fighting. I think a chair is actually cracked across Han's back at one point.
There's some important just information here quick that the flog tells him that the Keenum guy, the big boss moon, is hated by most of the other moons who run the pod race circuit on Munilist. And Keenum apparently has a pet. The only thing that softens his heart is his pet crate dragon. So that comes up later. And so the pod racers and the pit crew boys here at this cantina, they start making fun of Keenum's new racer, a human. And this is what a joke that a human's going to be in this pod race. And this is Han. Like the reason the brawl starts is because Han's like, they're clowning my friend. Get the fuck off. They all
True
fight.
friend.
They all fight for a while before, in the chaos, Han just slips out of the cantina and is like, hopefully things will blow over by morning, basically. So, we get to chapter 20, and it's the day of the race. There's no crowds at this race. This is like a much seedier, just kind of like horse betting kind of vibe, like not a spectator sport the way it is on Tatooine. It's like just sleazier. And so here on page 160. Leia tries to stop Luke from doing this. She says, "Luke, I can't let you do this," Leia said in a worried voice. "What if something goes wrong again?" But R2-D2 had checked and rechecked every inch of the pod racer. It was in full working order. If there was a failure, it would be a mechanical one. "Nothing will go wrong," Luke said, sounding more certain than he felt. "I can win this." "You could die," Luke reminded him. Han glared at her. "Great pep talk, your worship." "He doesn't need a pep talk," Leia said angrily. "He needs to hear the truth. And the truth is that he can't do this. No human can." "It's true that statistically, Master Luke has very little chance of surviving this course," C-3PO put in. But in fact, a full search of the galactic pod racing records has revealed a historical precedent for... "I don't care if no human has ever done it before," Luke interrupted. "I can." He was about to talk about Anakin, baby. Okay.
I know there's another part during the...
I have it marked
later.
Down. We'll get to it. And so, So what is this about? Leia asked hotly. "You're trying to prove something?" "I'm trying to help the Alliance," Luke reminded her. "And if I die today, at least I'll die trying to do what's right. But some things are more important than my life, Leia. Bigger. You taught me that." "Don't throw my words back at me to defend a stupid idea like this," Leia shouted. "Then I won't say anything else," Luke said quietly. "You know how I feel." Oh, shit. Does she know how he feels? So I apologize to all of our listeners. When I get really into the books, I get horny for these characters. I want these characters to fuck. It's just what it is. Like I just have to admit that that's like a base thing that happens to me when I'm reading a book, where I'm just like, I want these characters to fuck, even if it's just context doesn't make any sense. They're brother and sister. I don't want them to fuck. Don't worry. I don't support that. All right. Anyway, so there's only one lap. It's not like a full course, and the race starts. And Luke starts off really shaky, but he lets the Force guide him, and his confidence rises as he passes some of his opponents, and he starts to think that he might win. So we're going to start on page 166, and I'm going to read through the end of the chapter here. "Unbelievable!" Hari Akreem Beard lowered his electro binoculars and turned to Han, whom he had apparently decided to forgive in the spirit of the race. That's the guy they had a fight with. Mm-hmm. "Your human's actually pulling ahead." He shook his lumpy head in confusion. "I never thought he'd make it past the gorge, much less the corkscrew. I've never seen anything like it." "I have," a grizzled Rhodian said. "Though not since that kid back on Tatooine. You're all too young to remember, but I'll never forget. That was something."
You sounded like the Family Guy dude.
Oh, is that a thing? I don't know Family Guy.
He's like the dad from Family Guy is kind of how you sounded. Anyway, moving on.
You ruined it for me. I was having a good time. I'm sorry.
That poor... It was just a Rhodian. Never mind. Sorry.
No, it's fine. "This is something," Hari Akreem countered. He pulled out a stack of credits, muttering to himself, "I wonder if it's too late to change my bet." The assassin, calling himself Tobin Ilad, peered into the view screen, but he was listening intently to the chatter around him. He had assumed his target would be an alien. The piloting skills required to destroy the Death Star were considered beyond human capabilities. Everyone knew that to be true. But now here was another truth. Luke Skywalker had capabilities like no other human. "Here they come!" the Rhodian shouted, pointing into the distance. 4 pod racers appeared on the horizon, screaming toward the finish line. He's actually doing it," Han exclaimed, pounding X7 on the back. Luke was pulling up fast on the inside, edging around the Benghazi pod racer that had fallen behind after an early lead. The Nucknog at the controls swung a hard left, trying to bump Luke out of the way. Luke weathered the attempt, nudging past the Benghazi, and the alien veered towards Luke again, too hard, and flung himself in a wild spin. Careening out of control, he nearly crashed into the Volkov Strude and the Radon Ulzer, battling it out for the lead. As they struggled to avoid the spiraling Benghazi, Luke surged ahead, steering effortlessly around the Nucknog. The cam droids clocked his speed at nearly 850 kilometers per hour. "He's in the lead," Han shouted. "I knew the kid had it in him." X7 cloaked his face in a hearty grin. "Is it you?" he wondered, watching as Luke's pod racer crossed the finish line, a full 2 seconds ahead of his nearest competitor. "Are you the one I seek?" If so, Luke's extraordinary piloting skills wouldn't be enough to save him. "You escaped death today," X7 thought coldly. "But if you're the pilot I'm looking for, you'll never escape me." All right. I realized I was just doing. I mentioned that when I listened to the audiobook of Mighty Chewbacca and the Forest of Fear.
Yeah.
That Han sounded like Albert Brooks. I realized I'm just doing an Albert Brooks when I'm doing Han. Albert Brooks should have played Han Solo. Maybe. Yeah.
That would have been a fun.
That would have been the movie. Wouldn't exist. It would be like, oh, that was kind of that weird follow to American Graffiti. That would be the legacy of that movie. If that's, and I love Albert Brooks, but if that happened, that would be what people would think about Star Wars. They'd be like, yeah, that was like, remember when like George Lucas tried to make like a space opera? Like, like that's weird, Yeah. Anyway, so. In chapter 21, so he wins the pod race, basically. So, chapter 21, they go back to Keenum's mansion, and the dude is, of course, a snake. He gives Han the data card. Remember, Leia's not with them, by the way, because Leia stormed off, didn't want to watch the race. So, he gives Han the data card with the cash on it, and they check, and it's there and everything. But then he has his guards hold them up, so that Han and Elad's bounties, Elad apparently has a bounty on his head, basically he's just like, this guy is like, well, I'm keeping you guys and trading in for your bounties because your boy Luke destroyed one of my pod racers, so he owes me for that. I gave you back your money, but, like, I didn't say I would let you off world. Like, nice try, basically. So, Han and Elad fight back. Elad manages to hold Keenum up with his blaster and tries to negotiate for the main crew's release. So this is a big moment where he's like, if you let everyone else go, I won't kill you. But you can keep me and trade and use my bounty. My bounty has got to be way bigger than Han's, basically he says. And Han's just like, no way, my bounty, which is very funny. He says, yeah, me staying there should be enough to exchange for the Falcon crew's safe passage off world. And so X7 continues to try to ingratiate himself, or is he just becoming more human? We don't know. Is he going too deep? We don't know yet. And then in this moment, Leia shows up, and he's holding Keenum's crate dragon hostage. She's captured Keenum's beloved crate dragon that's referenced earlier, and she's holding it hostage. So here on page 176, starting here, Keenum's tone changes dramatically. He's like, "You must be careful," the Mun urged. "The pearl forming inside her is extremely delicate, and any malformations would significantly detract from its value." "That's why you're such a softy about the dragon?" Han asked in disgust. Because it can make you money? What other possible value could any creature have? The Mun asked disdainfully. Not everything's about money, Han said. What if needy was sexy? Sorry, I'm trying to think of Albert Brooks lines. I apologize. The broadcast news, watch it. Masterpiece. Not everything's about money, Han said. Leia glanced sharply at him, surprise in her eyes. So that's what she really thinks of me, Han realized. She thinks I'm like him. Oh, shit. Not everything, Keenan agreed. Just everything that matters. Still, there was no denying the concern in his eyes that tracked the tip of Leia's blaster. Whatever the reason, he wanted the dragon to remain intact. So he then orders everyone to drop their weapons. He agrees, basically. He lets everybody go. She continues to hold the dragon hostage all the way back to the Falcon so that they can get off world safely, basically. So that's a pretty cool scene. That's a fun moment. And then in the last chapter here, they're on the way home, and Han and Leia are bickering about who saved who, etc. And Elad interrupts to offer Luke some hand-to-hand combat training. He's like, "You want to help? Let's train." And Leia asks to talk to Elad alone for a moment. This makes Han jealous. And so she apologizes to this slimy motherfucker I wrote. She offers to let him join the rebellion. He hems and haws about not wanting to get close to anyone again. And she says the time he spent with his fake wife and kid were valuable even if they ended in tragedy, and that she understands that because of Alderaan. So she finally tells him about Alderaan. And he offers to talk to her about it. And she accepts. And then I have here, read page 183 through the end. So, starting with the page break here. So,
all right.
X7 confirmed that his encrypted communication line was secure, then activated the transmission. The others were all in the main hold, so there was no risk anyone would overhear. I've gained the trust of the rebels, he informed the commander. The commander is the one guy. It was a relief to drop the hardy heroism of the Elad persona and relax into the blankness of his true self. The goal is close at hand. Excellent, the commander replied. I expect you to secure the information about our target as soon as possible. Time is of the essence. I may already have a lead. Keep me informed, the commander said, and signed off. X7 decided to join the others in the main hold. No need to sequester himself anymore, now that their leader had accepted him. More than accepted him, he thought with cool pleasure. Sought comfort in him. Friendship. He had done well in his formulation of the Tobin Elad identity. As predicted, the wounded, noble warrior was exactly the person Leia wanted in her life, even if she hadn't realized it until Elad appeared. These humans were all so trusting, Elad thought in disgust, so eager to believe in what they saw on the surface. They believed in the bond that drew them together. They thought it made them strong. And maybe it did, but their secrets kept them apart, and that made them weak. They may have fancied themselves as cautious, but it was a joke. They looked at X7 and saw what they wanted to see, what he wanted them to see. For Han, he would be a brother in arms. The bounty had been a nice touch, X thought, congratulating himself on constructing such a thorough false identity. Keenan had done him a true service by digging into Elad's records. There could surely be no faster way of gaining Han's trust. For Leia, he would be her equal, the bold warrior as committed to the fight as she was. He would be what she wished Han Solo could be, a secret she hid, even from herself. But there would be no secrets from X7. For Luke, he would be a confidant, the one man who believed he would achieve his Jedi destiny. And this was no act. X7 believed. He had seen Luke pilot that podracer. He knew what the boy was capable of. And if Luke was his target, well, a Jedi Knight would make a formidable adversary. But by his own admission, Luke was no Jedi. Not yet. X7 stood silently on the edge of the main hold, unobserved, observing, watching as Leia and Han peered at a datapad, bickering loudly over its contents, watching as the Wookiee played a game of Dejirac with the golden protocol droid, growling whenever it fell behind, watching as Luke, expert pilot, aspiring Jedi, possibly the Rebellion's great hope, fumbled with his lightsaber. The blue beam flashed as he struggled to deflect shots fired by the astromech droid, missing one after another. A moment later, he stumbled over his own feet, toppling backward and landing on the floor in a heap. X7 rarely experienced emotions, but thinking of these pathetic humans believing they were a match for any of their enemies, much less an enemy like him, X7 allowed himself a genuine smile. This is going to be even easier than I thought. Oh, ooh. Sinister as fuck.
Well, I think the listeners can gauge our opinion of this book, being that we've talked an hour and a half on the book alone. Yeah. So, what's your thought?
It's conceived. Let me just say conceived.
I've been so hesitant to want to say that because it's like I'm always like want to be like, no, a series has to grow from here. I never want to give like the first book.
But what if they're all conceived? What if they're all conceived? Who knows?
That would be a home run in our book on our show.
Whether this is Jude or not, and I don't know what to believe.
I don't know. Okay, while we were doing the episode, the plot thickened. Okay, so Pablo has two Twitter accounts. He has his private Twitter account and his public Twitter account. His private Twitter account has been private since October 2019. He only has 614 people are allowed into his private account. It's invite only. So now he has his public account, all right?
Yeah, okay.
All right, there's 11,000 followers of his public account. Yeah. All right, it was February 2020 that this tweet apparently went out that said Jude Watson is Alex Wheeler. The public account doesn't start until May 2020.
Well, this is, I think, because I remember vaguely that he had a public account, he made it private, deleted a bunch of his followers. Probably, I'm sure after Last Jedi, it was a shit show for anyone who worked at Lucasfilm. I wouldn't want to have a public Twitter account either. And he must have just relaunched it after that. But I remember it being a screenshot, which I imagine is because it was a private tweet, if it's real. But it also, who knows, maybe a lot of people were making up fake Pablo tweets because he had a private account that only 600 people were reading. So I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
So maybe it is. Maybe he never said that. So I don't know what to believe. I guess we should just believe Jude. This does feel like her, I will say.
It feels so much like her.
It is Jude quality, I'll say that. Whoever wrote it, whether it was her or somebody else, they did a great job. Alex Wheeler, I'll just say Alex Wheeler, that's the credited writer. Mm-hmm. Alex Wheeler did a great job. I love Alex. We should start referring to Alex by their first name. That's a gender neutral name, by their first name. This series is extremely promising. I am so excited. I'm glad we've saved this for the end, even if it's not a Jude series. This still feels like we get to go back to the original characters. This is the only series that's had them as main characters besides Jedi Prince, which stinks. So you know what I mean? So it's exciting to read a good series with our main characters from the original movie. And
to quote the Matrix trailer, the Matrix Resurrections trailer,
to be back to the Matrix.
Yeah,
I just saw that in front of. I went to see House of Gucci for all the fans. If they were wondering, we want some movie talk. I'm doing it now when we should be doing it. House of Gucci, a fun movie. Go see it. Anyway, continue.
I'll see it next week. Maybe we'll discuss it on the show. Who knows? But this book ruled. The pod race thing was completely out of nowhere.
I had no clue that was going to happen.
Ever saw that coming. And not only that, too, it happens within the last 50 pages of the book.
But it feels totally well built It doesn't feel rushed, like a rushed climax at all.
And when Luke crashes the pod, like, immediately, which I thought was hilarious, he crashes immediately, I was like, okay, well then this pod race thing is over, we're not doing it, because we don't have the pages left. And then it was like, no, we're doing it, strap in, and
then there's even another
incredible
set piece after that. Like,
it is,
it's
I know.
incredibly well paced. It's a great Star Wars book. I'm so excited for Rebel Force.
X7 is great.
Great
All the
villain.
characterizations are great. Everything feels spot on. This is fantastic beginning to a series.
I'm so excited. So
double conceived.
Double conceived. We've conceived twins.
And a horny Gungan, apparently.
Oh. Beautiful. I just couldn't believe it. I was in shock. Gungans making out in a Star Wars book. We've truly achieved the dream, in my opinion.
We certainly have.
So next week we're going to continue Rebel Force. I think we're probably going to do 3 and 3, and we'll do a break of some sort in between those.
We have a Christmas episode.
We got the Life Day Treasury we got to do. So we'll figure out the exact schedule. But next week for sure we're going to continue with Book 2, Hostage. Any hostage movies that we could watch with that? Or?
Oh, that's a good one. I did watch recently the Taking of Felon 1, 2, 3. That's a good hostage
original,
movie. Yeah, the original. I'd watch the remake if you wanted to do that.
I actually have the novel, The Taking of Felon 1, 2, 3, right here, right next to me. Can you believe that? Like,
I actually have been shocked by that.
Yeah, it's like right here. And it's the original hardcover. I don't know if it's the first edition, but it's a hardcover that predates the movie because there's no mention of the movie. So,
wow, that's fantastic.
Beautiful cover.
We could do that, or some other. There's plenty of hostage stuff out there.
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out and we'll tell people on the air. But probably look at lists of hostage movies, pick something out, see what you want to watch, everybody, and just go along with us. There's a lot of good hostage films. So, but next week, I promise we're going to have as detailed a breakdown of Book 2. I will have so many notes. We're not going to talk for 2 hours about whatever hostage movie we pick, so we'll have time to record. This was a nice long episode. If we had actually recorded this that night and we had released, that episode would have been almost 4 hours long.
Yeah, it would have been huge. just ridiculously long.
All right. So yeah, everybody have a good.
If we had gotten to that point and you had hit that, because we were both tired, exhausted after that conversation, if we had started talking about the book and we had got to the horny Gungan, the episode would have fallen apart. There's no way the episode would have been able to finish.
I agree. Would have been too much. So I hope everybody has a good. If you're in the U.S., you have a good holiday weekend. If you're outside the U.S., have a good weekend. And we'll be back next Friday with a regular episode. And Levi, I hope you have a good holiday. However you choose to celebrate it. And everybody go out to the movies. Go see House of Gucci. If you live in one of the markets that's actually showing it yet, go see Licorice Pizza. If you're just with your family, go see Encanto. I've heard that's good. If you're go see whatever. Go see a good movie. That's all I ask.
For the Big Red Dog, obviously.
Sure.
Dear listeners, we are thankful for you. Tim, I am thankful for you. And until the books are due back,
the library is closed. Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Paratic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by The Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2021. Tim May and Levi Paratic. All rights reserved.